Once a decision or conclusion has been made, it becomes a rule of attitude action for that individual from that moment on until that decision is recalled, reconsidered, reevaluated, and acted upon through reevaluation. Few ever discover this great truth. The individual is unaware that such a decision was ever made in the first place, much less realizing the influence that it has in ruling attitude and action. From Rondell's Science of Man, the picture of conditioned man portrays erroneous decisions or conclusions that are recorded in the awareness function unknowingly. The symbol of X is referred to as life principle. As in algebra, when something is known to exist in an equation but cannot yet be defined, the symbol of X is used to mark that entity. 1 plus X equals 2. It's certainly plain to see when life, X, is present or not present. A live tree, one that is not. Live animals, dead animals. Live people, dead people. When life is present and one is burned by a hot instrument, life adapts and forms a blister. When life is not present, the flesh will begin to cook. No blister is formed, for there is no adaptation. So life, X, is definitely something bigger than we are, and certainly exists. And it's understood only by checking it out. In the picture of man, there is life principle, awareness function of life, the physical body or form, and always the result. In the beginning. The created life form experienced through feeling, a sense of complete comfort and non-disturbance. No challenges, no sudden loud noises, no sudden temperature changes, no drafts, no hunger. Food was supplied before there could be hunger. No responsibility at all. Complete and total comfort. Until one day, the tiny infant experienced the process of dying to the uterine world and being birthed into the earth world. Also born, the great error as to the purpose of living. Impossible for a newborn? Well, let's see. The process of being born is an extremely unpleasant experience to the little one. Sudden blows inflicted, things poked into the mouth, nose, and ears, bright lights, temperature changes, restrictions of clothing, Wanting to escape these extremely unpleasant feelings of discomfort and regain the non-disturbed state that it knew in the comfort of the uterine world, the infant with feeling forms a very basic fundamental idea, something like this. The purpose of living is to regain the non-disturbed state by gaining and escaping. The great error. To be non-disturbed is recorded unknowingly in the awareness function of the tiny infant and will remain the master erroneous decision or conclusion within that individual from that moment on until reconsidered, reevaluated, and acted upon. It's from this original misconception as to the purpose of living that all other erroneous decisions are born. In the effort of regaining the non-disturbed state, the newborn complains by crying. Decision number 1. Complain. This serves very well as a means of communicating to the caregiver. Diaper changes, feeding time. This works for a while until immediate complaints are not met. Many so-called adults still use crying as a means of complaining when not getting their way. Pouting, acting hurt, complaining about the job, the weather, traffic, the same old complaining decision made many, many years earlier by a tiny infant still running in an adult body. Few see this, and a lifetime of complaining continues on and on. When complaining by crying is not immediately met with a demanding bell, the number 2 decision is born. Stick up for rights. The baby does not realize that it has no rights, only privileges. A recurring privilege is not a right. However, many continue sticking up for their so-called rights throughout their lifetime. Attitudes of rudeness, violence. Courts are backlogged with claims for so-called rights. A very wise teacher taught, "We have many privileges. They are gifts given, not to be mistaken as rights." The fastest way to lose a privilege is to mistake it for a right. Even the privilege or gift of life can be stripped at any time by some thug with a weapon. The little one has enjoyed many pleasures, attention, approval, and appreciation by complaining and demanding. Sometime there were added gifts given by a loving caregiver, especially when the child gave a lovely smile. Added pleasures, attention, approval, appreciation were given. Soon the bright little one realized that it worked to get her way. And number 3 decision comes into being. The pleaser. And conflict is introduced. For complaining and demanding does not accommodate pleasing. These opposing methods used in the struggle for non-disturbance are at war. The little one is the battlefield. This same conflict is seen every day in adults. I try so hard to please him, and what do I get? Regardless of how much I do, it's never enough. Then, of course, we see people playing the doormat role. The only way this differs from the infant grinning to get some candy is in language. The growing child is soon introduced to authorities. Number 4, decision. This serves a worthwhile purpose to the child. Reasons of safety, learning skills, proper diet. This is appropriate for a child. But what about grown-ups? Most adults differ from little children not at all. They still have authorities who will be responsible for their thinking and acting. Family. I was raised this way. Institutions. Philosophies. Doctors. Theologies. Politics. Big business. This is decision number 4. Still the child looking for a so-called authority to be relieved of the responsibility of doing it himself. Nothing has changed. The body has grown older. That's all. The conflict between wanting to cry, complain, whine, demand, and smile to please them, obey, is enormous. Feeling she must do what she doesn't want to do, but has to, lest she get punished. The internal raging war continues, and the confused child is so weary that it's decided it's all her fault. If she could just improve, then she would be happy or non-disturbed. Number 5, decision. Self-improve. She buys this lie too and tries to change, to live up to the standards everyone else has set for her, and a few of her own. attempts, the non-disturbed state is still there. It all seems so hopeless, and her own efforts so futile, that she blames everyone and everything else. And number 6 decision is birthed. Blame. If he and she and they and it and everything that bothers me would change, then I would be happy and non-disturbed. The science of man teaches blaming anything or anyone places that which blamed higher than self. This is giving away individual freedom and the ability to respond for self, also called respondability and responsibility. But blaming is for children, right? We adults know better. Or do we? Take a look around. Blaming, feeling guilty, blind obedience, pleasing for effect, demanding, complaining. All of these decisions lead only to warfare, internal, inward stress, and external, outward stress. All are erroneous decisions made by a child in effort to regain the non-disturbed state of the womb. All are decisions or conclusions programmed into the mind in early childhood and have never been recalled and reevaluated, still at war in the so-called adult. If you don't think so, just listen for these decisions as you hear them throughout the day, whether by you or another. Watch the adult mouthing these decisions and imagine him or her at exactly the age he or she was when the decision was made. Is the decision any more appropriate than it was when made? The master decision made by an infant that the purpose of living is to regain the non-disturbed state, and the 6 helper decisions will never bring peace. Only conflict, struggle, resistance. The desire to be happy or non-disturbed can be shown to have 4 dual basic urges. The physical is gaining pleasure and escaping pain. The mental is gaining attention and avoiding being ignored. The emotional is gaining approval and escaping disapproval. The transcendental is feeling needed or important and avoiding feeling useless or inferior. All of these feelings are part of the human experience. Everyone has some degree of them, and in ever-changing degrees. But they are not the purpose of living. They are byproducts of living. When we mistake the byproducts of living for the reason to exist, we are doomed to disappointment. When we equate happiness with gaining and escaping pain and pleasure on all these levels, we have no place for higher experience or experience outside this misconception. In the struggle to be non-disturbed, the four dual basic urges are detrimental and will always produce conflict, struggle, resistance. The result, disintegration. When there is new purpose, the four dual basic urges are a byproduct to new purpose. The new purpose is not a method to obtain the old purpose. When there is new purpose, there is transformation. The only thing that can be transformed is purpose. When there is new purpose of living, awareness function of life evaluates accurately impressions received from body, mind, others, world, life, and reports by feeling to X or life. X then does the appropriate thing for the information received through the physical body. The result is action of life. Condition necessary to make a new purpose is recognition that with the old purpose, the four dual basic urges are detrimental, that I'm fortunate, that I'm totally thankful. Make a new purpose to express my thankfulness. Be aware of what I am, where I am, what's going on, what I can do.